Hi everybody, Danielle here. I'm doing a very quick overview of the stamp swap Pinzetta solo mode. If you're not familiar with the game itself, I suggest you do take a look at the rulebook for the general, multiplayer game. I will only be discussing what Pinzetta will do on their turn. So you're definitely going to want to have all of these set up. This will be, my approach in this video will be more of a teach. I will be referring to the rulebook, and I'll just be demonstrating one round of Pinzetta's turn. So to start, you will go through the phases as you normally would across each day. So that's collect, swap, and show. So the first thing you do in collecting in the solo mode is very different from the multiplayer. So you're going to want to pay attention to this part. So you're going to make sure you have these purple cards. You shuffle them. These are your event cards for your solo mode, and then you'll draw the first one. When you draw the first card, you're only looking at everything at the top of the card. You're ignoring everything else. So basically everything above this horizontal line is what you need to grab from your supply. And this will be the daily collection for Pinzetta. Anytime anything has a white background, you're going to place it face up. If you see the backing of one of the stamps, you're going to place that face down. So to start, we'll grab each of those. We have two of these face up. We have one of these face up. And these have to go in the large pile. They are designated with the header here. So this side would be the large pile, and then the right side would be the small pile. So just, keep in mind that little vertical dotted line. And then I need to grab the small pile, which is going to be a little small square. And then we have the larger square. So this would be face up actually, and this would be face down. Next, you draw a second event card. This time you will pay attention to the bottom part of the card. So now everything below the horizontal line you will be doing. So it says to do a generous swap. So let's do that after we gather our daily collection. I'm actually going to place my daily collection on the left side just so that's a little bit more visible in this video, but normally you would place it just directly beneath Pinzetta's collection. Let's go ahead and grab those. So if you're wondering what this exactly is, that's an attendee card. Attendee cards look like this. You would have shuffled this during setup, draw the first one, and you'll place it in your daily collection just like you would with a stamp. So that's face up. This specialist is a attendee card, and if you want to read it, feel free to pause and read that. But this is something that we'll be able to utilize on our turn if we actually have it. All right, next, grab this face down. This will be face up. Another face up. And then this, and lastly a small square. Alright, so we'll move everything over a little bit, and then that's it for the collect. Oh wait, we gotta do the ability. So this is generous swap. Swap one item from Pinzetta's daily collection with one from your own. So we'll grab maybe this. Yeah, we'll grab this one and swap it with this small one. Okay. And that's completing the collect phase. After that, we go into the swap phase. And this is probably the most confusing part. But we have to appraise our collection. So first, we get to reserve. We have to reserve something that's not a rare, which kind of looks like a goldish looking stamp. So we're going to make sure we're not going to reserve one of those, which we actually don't have a choice to do that at this point. I'm going to reserve this one. And now we have to appraise my collection. So what's helpful with this is there's a card that tells you exactly how to appraise. So we're going to follow this from left to right. Any attendee cards and forever tokens will gain one appraisal token. These are your appraisal tokens. So you're just going to place them near the corresponding stamps or your card. We don't have forever tokens, so we'll skip that. Any of the rares, we will also place 4. We do not have any rares in our collection, so we don't have to do that. All other stamps, if they're valued 2 or 3, you give them 1 as well. And none of these have a value of 2 or 3, so we'll skip that. And then lastly, we'll give 2 of these appraisal tokens to any that match the size that's noted on Pinzetta's board, which is small squares. We do not have any small squares. All right, so with that, we'll be drawing a card from here. They look like this. So you're going to shuffle the decision deck and draw the first one. If any icons were at the top, and as an example, it would look like this. If any of those were at top, you would remove that from the largest side. And at this point, you would have chosen how you would split your piles, and one of them has to have 3, and the other has to have less than 3. Or at least one more than the other pile. So that's something to note. And just to be more specific, it does say right here, split your remaining items into 2 piles, one of them having exactly 1 item more than the other. So that's how you would split them. And then after that, you would use the decision deck to determine how many to remove from the most tokens. But in the case of this example, there was none to remove. But you would draw a decision card, count the number of crossed out appraisal icons, which would have been at the top, discard that many appraisal tokens from the pile with the most tokens. Because in this case, I split this pile into the large on the left, small on the right. So you would just continue to remove based on that decision card. And then the Pinzetta takes the pile with the most tokens remaining. So with remaining, that means the large pile is what they would take. So we'll just kind of put this over here for now. That's what they would end up taking. And we'll keep these 2. Now we do the same thing with Pinzetta's items. So in this case, we'll just be adding the same type of appraisal tokens. So looking at the appraisal card, which is here, we would appraise all attendee cards and forever tokens with 1, all rares with 4, and then all the other stamps value 2 or 3 would get 1. And then based on the size that matches the board, which is small squares, we would add 2 to each of those small squares, which is just these 2. Okay. So after I've appraised Pinzetta's collection, I have to see if one pile has 3 or more appraisal tokens than the other. If so, I would swap the item with the most tokens in the pile with the one that has the least tokens on the other pile. And if there are any ties, you choose the leftmost tied item. So in this case, this has only 3 and this has 2, so there's no side that has 3 or more appraisal tokens than the other. So this is very even, but the large pile wins because the large pile automatically gets an extra appraisal token. So that's included when you compare, and that's also included when I did my my decisions as well. So you have to keep in mind large will always gain an extra one. So Pinzetta will keep this pile, and I will take these 2. So now, during the show phase, I'll skip what we do during the show phase because that's, just the general rules. But for Pinzetta, you would grab everything that they've taken and you'll just sort them. So this would go here. You would put the square here. You put everything else there. And then if you have any additional, okay, so we flip this over and this is a rare. So this goes here in this section. But if you had any of your other tokens that had a value of 2 or 3, you'd place them in this section. So 2 on this side, 3 on this side. After that, you're going to do a show scoring. So you're going to grab these cards and you would have shuffled it during setup, but you'll draw one, and then you're looking at the show phase card. This is called canceled. This is card number 7, so this was on the board, and this is card 7. You'll look at this table. Card 7 is here. We're doing level 1, so they're going to score 7 points on a Friday. Say this was drawn on a Saturday. They would score 7 times 2, which is 14 points. So you would keep track of Pinzetta's score from each day. And then after that, at the end of the game, you would be scoring what's in here. So keeping in mind, there are difficulty levels when you play. Difficulty levels for level 1, you would lose 20 points for Pinzetta. Level 2, she loses 10. And if it's level 3, there's no change to what she gets. When scoring forever stamps, she scores as normal, and you actually include an imaginary player who has 3. So it's you as a player, the imaginary player that has 3 forever tokens, and then however many forever tokens Pinzetta would have in her board. And then you will score the mat. In this case, you'll draw a decision card. So you'll draw one, and it looks like this. Then Pinzetta would score the indicated number of points in each section per item there. So looking at this section is currently just has 1. Obviously, there would be more at the end of the game, but in this purpose of showing how to play, 6 points times 1 is 6. And then 2 points per this section would be also 6 points. You get 4 points for this, 2 points per forever stamp, and 6 points per attendee card. So that's how they would end up scoring their mat. And then you'll obviously get the stamp values. You'll see here stamp values, Pinzetta scores the values printed on her rare stamps only. So scoring only for the ones here, which is 12 right now. And then as far as the finale contest card, which in my example was the 1x1 holes, you get 5 each. Pinzetta would never score for the contest card. So that's something to keep in mind. Alright, well I hope all of that made some sense to you. I know for me the appraisal process is the most confusing. Just always remember as well that the large pile gets an additional appraisal token when you compare the 2 piles. And you only draw a decision card when you're appraising your items. So you don't remove any of the appraisal tokens on the Pinzetta's appraisal, just yours with the decision card. Because how they mitigate is if you have 3 additional appraisal tokens in one of the piles. Yeah, so those are the things I tend to forget, and I tend to have to reference the rulebook to just make sure I'm doing right. But yeah, I think as you play, it'll get easier. But yes, let me know if you have any questions, or if I happen to make a mistake, also please let me know. I would make a note in the description and also pin a comment with those corrections. Alright, as always, I appreciate you watching. Let me know if there's any other videos you'd like to see on this game. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Bye.